It's the Flow Friday night sports show, and I don't get an opportunity to do this very often, so stand by, folks.
We're the pride of South Australia, and we're known as the Adelaide Crows.
Yes, I am a Crows supporter. For those of you who didn't know that across our Flow network, too bad, so sad. I do love the Crows, been following them since their inception. And at the moment, they have an election for a position on the board. Now, the Adelaide Crows board is, an interesting place at the best of times. Let's be honest, the last few years haven't been the best of times. I wonder what possesses someone to run for the board of the Adelaide Football Club right now. It must be a deep love of the footy club. And a lady who has exactly that is Shanti Berggren, who joins me on the line right now. Shanti, welcome to the Flow Friday Night Sports Show.
Thanks, Jason, and thank you so much for having me.
Hope you enjoyed the song too. I know you're a diehard Crows supporter, and you wouldn't be if you didn't. If you're running for the board right now, you must be.
I am a diehard Crows supporter, and yes, I am running for the one elected member position.
Well, let's talk about you first of all, so that our listeners across the Flow network, and we've got plenty of Crows supporters in Western Victoria listening today as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up supporting the Crows in the first place.
So, Jason, I grew up in Adelaide, and that meant hot, dry summers, and you watch the cricket, and I'm a bigger cricket fan as I am an AFL fan. And, of course, it meant soggy winters, and in those days you watched the VFL, which then became the AFL. I grew up in Elizabethvale. My dad had businesses in Brahma Lodge, and everyone around us were, big Crows people. So we naturally went along with following the Crows.
Professionally, your work, how does that qualify you, do you think, to be part of the board of a football club?
So my day job is being a lawyer, so you might want to hold back all the lawyer jokes. I work in-house at Optus. I'm very much part of the business, which I love. And I first got to know the Crows professionally when they were negotiating the principal partner agreement. And I must say they were really impressive during those negotiations. And as a Crows supporter, they made me really proud.
I mean, that goes a long way to, I guess, why you decided to run for the board in the first place. But was there any other reason that you looked at the position that was up for grabs, that's elected by the members, and thought, I think it's time that I put my hand up?
I believe in communication. I love, I get great satisfaction in connecting to people and talking to people, and certainly being the member representative at its core, that's got to be what that's about. And it's something that I feel very strongly about, and it's something that I think I'm really good at.
Shanti, I want to talk a bit more about that in just a moment. But first, we should talk about who you're up against. I believe there's a total of 4 people running for this position. Is that right?
Yes, there are. So there's Kim Ryder, who's the current incumbent, and then Donnie Walford and Nick Tuckhoff.
Right, okay. And I'm sure they all have their reasons. They're all Crows supporters. We're all part of the Crows family at the end of the day. So no disparaging remarks, I would imagine, for any of the folk that have put their hand up to do the same as yourself.
No, I think, anyone that puts their hand up, whether they're on as an elected member or on the board, all come from that place of wanting to do the absolutely best thing by the club.
Now, let's talk about your campaign specifically. Throughout it, who have you spoken to? What groups have you been able to catch up with? There's plenty of different factions and groups inside the football club, not just at board level, but in terms of supporter groups and like. Who have you been able to speak to?
So, Jason, before I even put my hand up for the board nomination, I actually met with each of the 7 presidents of supporter groups, and there are 7 supporter groups. Yep. 5 of those are regional groups, and then, of course, you have the Adelaide Metropolitan supporter group and the Crows Pride supporter group, who don't really own a territory, but they have, a way of life, I guess, that pervades everything.
Sure.
And so I spoke to each of those presidents to really listen and get a good understanding of what they expected from their elected member and what they expected from the board. And so last Friday, actually, I was on 5AA pledging that I'd bring all 7 presidents of the groups together And on Saturday, I kept that promise and I had a video call with the president. It was set for 30 minutes, but we actually went for an hour. It'll be no surprise to you that the overwhelming message that they gave me was one about wanting better communication.
That seems to be the theme from all people when they talk about the Adelaide Football Club at the moment. You could argue the point that it's been a concern for supporters and people, outsiders looking in for a little while now, but better communication is clearly the number one thing. Who better to get to do it than a professional communicator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think, the Crows members that I've spoken to are wholly committed to the club. They are really passionate and they want to contribute and they want their voices to be heard. And my strength and focus is really just that. And I want to listen. I want to feed back to the board what our members say and where that fits and convert it into action.
Part of those meetings with the 7 supporter groups of the footy club that you mentioned there, 5 of them being based in regional areas, has it given you some sort of focus on the regions perhaps that you didn't have when you started out and putting your hand up for the board position? Because 5 out of 7 is a fair chunk of your time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. And you know what, with COVID and people realising that, we can communicate by video regardless of where you are in the country or in the world, I think it opened that door for people to have that accessibility and not to be so nervous about communicating in that way or through that forum. For me, very personally, it has also just enticed me to want to go out and visit and be more part of that community.
Shanti, have you noticed any differences between what the regional presidents were telling you were priorities for them or what they would like to see the Crows doing at board level compared to metropolitan counterparts?
No, not really. Communication is an overall theme and a common theme. Certainly for the regional clubs, logistics is a greater challenge than for the metropolitan supporter groups. So what we did on that call on Saturday was just fantastic. I mean, that was an immediate example of just being collaborative, where all the different presidents became supporters of each other's group.
Yep.
So that they now have their newsletters and they would now know very quickly and very easily what everybody else was doing. So collectively, they could help each other.
Can we talk a little bit about the election now and how it works, how Crows members go about voting? So I believe it is election time. People are voting. Crows members are voting right now. How exactly does it work, Shanti?
So how exactly it works is this Monday past, you would have got an email if you are a member, and that email led you through a voting process. And that process is open now until 5 p.m. on Monday, the 1st of March. So if you have that email, that is your constitutional right to cast your vote. I would just point out to people that are members and haven't got an email, you may wish to call into the Crows because I certainly am a member and I'm also running for the board, but for some reason my last name was spelt wrongly, so I didn't get the email. So I called in and that was fixed. So if there is any issue and you think that you're a member and you should have got an email and you haven't done, please follow that through and call.
Be proactive about it at the end of the day. That's the message. Last message for our listeners who may be Crows supporters and members across our Flow network today. Shanti, why is it that they should vote for you?
Very simple, because it is about communication. It is about having your voice heard. And what I've provided, and I said this to the President last Saturday, is we need to have a structure and a meeting structure and a method of providing that feedback. And I'm committed to doing that for our members. And that was what last Saturday was about. It was really to show them what that communication would be like if I were elected to be their member.
We wish you all the very best for the election. And I want to say a big thank you for joining us here on the Flow Friday Night Sports Show tonight. And all the best for season 2021. Go Crows.
Thanks, Jason. All the best.